Today, an FDA approval in prostate cancer, promising phase 3 findings in breast cancer and follicular lymphoma, and positive European Medicines Agency recommendations in multiple myeloma and Hodgkin lymphoma. Welcome to Enclave News Network. I'm Gina Columbus. The radioactive imaging agent fluciclovin, F18, was approved by the FDA for use in positron emission tomography scans in patients with suspected recurrence of prostate cancer whose PSA levels rise following prior treatment. The agent, known as Exumin, is a synthetic amino acid and is designed to help determine the location of the recurrence in the prostate to help define an optimal choice of therapy. The FDA's decision was based on 2 safety and efficacy studies involving Exumin scans in men with suspected recurrent disease. The most commonly reported adverse events in patients included injection site pain, redness, and a metallic taste in the mouth. In a statement, Dr. Libero Marzella of the FDA's Center for Drug Evaluation and Research and Director of the Division of Medical Imaging Products said, "Imaging tests are not able to determine the location of the recurrent prostate cancer when the PSA is at very low levels. Exumin is shown to provide another accurate imaging approach for these patients." Standard imaging tests that have been used to determine identification of sites of recurrence have low diagnostic accuracy. Therefore, more accurate techniques have been needed. In breast cancer, frontline treatment with fulvestrant was found to improve progression-free survival versus anastrozole for postmenopausal patients with locally advanced or metastatic HR-positive breast cancer, according to phase 3 findings from the Falcon trial. In the study, 524 patients were randomized to receive fulvestrant at 500 milligrams or anastrozole at 1 milligram. Safety profiles were consistent with expectations for each medication in the trial. Full data from the trial have not yet been released, but AstraZeneca, the drug's manufacturer, said they are preparing to present the data at an upcoming medical meeting. In the prior phase 2 first trial, the median overall survival was 54.1 months versus 48.4 months with fulvestrant and anastrozole, respectively. The FDA initially approved fulvestrant in 2002 at a lower 250 milligram dose. At the 500 milligram dose, the agent is currently approved for postmenopausal women with HR-positive metastatic breast cancer following anti-estrogen therapy. In March 2016, fulvestrant was also approved in combination with palbociclib following endocrine therapy for women with HR-positive HER2-negative breast cancer. Findings from the phase 3 gallium study show that the combination of obinutuzumab and chemotherapy in the first-line setting significantly reduced the risk of disease progression compared with rituximab and chemotherapy in patients with follicular lymphoma. In the study, chemotherapy regimens included CHOP, CVP, or bendamustine. Additionally, safety was found to be consistent with previously reported data for chemotherapy combinations with the 2 therapies. Genentech, which manufactures both anti-CD20 agents, stated that it intends to present the gallium data at an upcoming medical meeting and enter discussions with regulatory authorities regarding a new indication for obinutuzumab. The FDA has already approved obinutuzumab plus bendamustine followed by obinutuzumab alone for the treatment of patients with follicular lymphoma who relapse after or are refractory to a rituximab-containing regimen. In a statement, Dr. Sandra Horning, Chief Medical Officer and Head of Global Product Development at Genentech, said, "People with follicular lymphoma continue to need better initial treatment options because their disease is incurable and becomes more difficult to treat with each relapse. Gallium is the second study in which Gazyva showed superior progression-free survival compared to Rituxan when each was combined with chemotherapy." The European Medicine Agency's Committee for Medicinal Products for Human Use has given a positive recommendation to carfilzomib for use in combination with dexamethasone as a treatment for patients with multiple myeloma following at least 1 prior therapy. The decision was based on the phase 3 Endeavor study, in which carfilzomib and dexamethasone reduced the risk of progression by 47% compared with bortezomib and dexamethasone in patients with relapsed disease. The median progression-free survival was 18.7 months with carfilzomib and 9.4 months with bortezomib. Additionally, the overall response rate was 77% with carfilzomib versus 63% with bortezomib, while the complete response rate with carfilzomib was 13% versus 6% with bortezomib. The rate of very good partial response or better with carfilzomib was 54% compared with 29% with bortezomib. The CHMP opinion suggests carfilzomib is likely to be approved for this indication when the European Commission issues its final decision. Carfilzomib was previously approved by the European Commission for use in combination with lenalidomide and dexamethasone for the treatment of patients with multiple myeloma following at least one prior therapy. Also in Europe, the CHMP has granted a positive opinion to brentuximab vedotin for use as a consolidation therapy following autologous stem cell transplantation in patients with CD30-positive Hodgkin lymphoma at risk of relapse or progression. The recommendation is based on findings from the Phase 3 AFERA trial, in which brentuximab vedotin reduced the risk of disease progression by 43% versus placebo. The median progression-free survival with brentuximab vedotin was 42.9 months versus 24.1 months with placebo. The positive opinion suggests that brentuximab vedotin is likely to be approved for this indication when the European Commission makes its final decision. The European Commission previously granted brentuximab vedotin marketing authorization for 2 indications. The first was for patients with relapsed refractory CD30-positive Hodgkin lymphoma after ASCT, or after at least 2 prior therapies in patients not eligible for ASCT or multi-agent chemotherapy. The second was for patients with relapsed refractory systemic anaplastic large cell lymphoma. That's all for today. Thank you for watching Enclave News Network. I'm Gina Columbus.